The hour being 7 o'clock, I now call the meeting of the Laconia City Council to order of the November 27th, 2023 meeting. I would like to ask Councilor Lippman if he'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Lippman. My name is Mark Haynes. I'm the councilor from Ward 4. The mayor is unfortunately stuck traveling, so I am the mayor pro tem and I will conduct the meeting. The recording secretary is Katie Gargano. Madam Secretary, Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, would you please take the roll?
Counselor Cheney.
Here.
Counselor Susie.
Here.
Counselor Lippman.
Here.
Counselor Haynes.
Here.
Counselor Bogart.
Here.
Counselor Felch.
Here. Thank you, Katie. We're also joined tonight at the table by City Manager Kurt Beatty and Finance Director Glenn Smith. Next on the agenda is item 7A, the City Council regular meeting minutes of November 13th, 2023. The minutes of the Laconia City Council meeting of November 13th, 2023 were distributed to the members of the council on November 22nd. With no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. There are no consent and actions. Next item is citizens' comments for matters not on the agenda. This is the time that anyone in the public can address the council. We just ask that you give your name and address. Would anyone like to address the council? Yes.
I couldn't get my printer to work. I'm Lois Kesson. I live at 3 Tanglewood Lane in Laconia.
Lois, could you bring the microphone down a little bit?
Closer? All right. And, wait, I'm taller than that. And I have been asked by the board of Temple B'nai Israel to speak to the city council tonight. And we at Temple B'nai Israel wish to express our thanks and gratitude for Chief Camfield. He has simply been marvelous. He and his department have made our synagogue feel safe and protected during the recent events. His response and the response of the other officers have been exemplary. We would also like to thank Lieutenant Chris Noyes, and if I don't get their titles right, I apologize, Officers Ben Black, Megan Danute, and Aaron Schilling, and all the officers that come to the synagogue when we have our services, because now we have to have officers at the synagogue for every event. We in Laconia have a responsive, caring police force which cares deeply for the citizens of the city. Thank you, Chief Camfield, for your incredible leadership. Now I'd like to speak personally for me. I would also like to thank Chief Camfield, who has made me feel safe in my home. I want to thank Officer Schilling, who escorted me into my home when I was out of town and we learned about what had been put on the walls of the state school. I'd also like to thank Officer Megan Danute, who came to my home to take a police report after the latest incident that affected me. And she came back the next day to tell me the progress of what had happened. Both officers were very kind and caring to a very unnerved me. I'd also like to thank Councilman Haynes and Mayor Hosmer for checking in with me regularly in the past few weeks. They have made me feel safe also. And I just wish every city had a Chief Campfield. He's truly an amazing man.
Thank you, Lois. Before we, Councilor Cheney, would you make sure that Lois's comments are delivered to the chief personally?
I will make sure he's
Thank you.
made aware.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on matters not on tonight's agenda? Okay, we'll move on. Item 13A is a resolution of the public hearing requesting to accept and expend the New Hampshire Endowment for a Health Grant in the amount of $20,000 for the Laconia Human Relations Committee. The notice of the public hearing was made available in the November 15th, 2023 issue of the Laconia Daily Sun and posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:06, and if anyone in the public would like to comment, questions on this matter, now is your opportunity. Good evening.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Patrick Wood. I'm on the Human Relations Committee. We've requested the council to act on this proposed grant from the Endowment for Public Health. The purpose of the grant is to help the community build up trust and encourage engagement among community members on different issues. We've already had one meeting of a group of different agencies. We have our next meeting is scheduled for the afternoon of the 30th of November. The plan is to have a series of meetings over the course of next year and perhaps a little bit of 2025, depending upon how it proceeds, to develop action plans on issues that this group feels are important to the community. It's an opportunity for us to show the state of New Hampshire that the city of Laconia can get things done, as we all know it can. So it's a very special grant. We're one of 5 communities in the state that are offered this $20,000, and we are very excited for the opportunity to put it to use. So thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any questions?
Thank you, Pat. Any of the councilors have anything?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak at this point? Okay, I will close the public hearing at 7:08. Next on the agenda is item 13B, Resolution 2023-30, public hearing relative to approval of bonding for the purposes of purchasing 2 replacement ambulances. The notice of the public hearing was made available at in November 15th, 2023 issue of the Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of SAU. Now is the public's opportunity to either discuss this or add comments to it. I will open the public hearing at 7:09. Just gonna wait. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:09-49. Next is item 13C, notice of public hearing for the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. The notice of the public hearing was made available in the November 15th, to 23 issue of Laconia Daily Sun and posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. I will open this public hearing at 7:10. If anyone would like to discuss this or address the council at this point, now is your opportunity. Yes, sir.
Hi, Richard McNeil, 47 Rolling Lane, Laconia.
Welcome.
I have a utility background. I spent 37 years in the electric utility. And I've tracked this since pretty much its inception, and I think overall it is a positive outlook for Laconia. So I think we really need to look at this and see if it's something that the citizens would be willing to work on. And I guess at that time, I'd offer my meager expertise if the city would like to lean on me.
Thank you. Councilor Cheney.
I'd like to point out that this man is responsible for this coming for the council. He sits next to me at the planning board and harassed me until I brought the subject up. And I'm thankful to you. I mean that sincerely, because I think this is a chance to do something positive for the city.
If this can save the ratepayers in Laconia, no matter what it takes off your bill, it's a savings.
Yep.
So, thank you.
He really is responsible. I want the council to know that.
Councilor Lippman.
I think in discussing, thank you for coming forward, and it's more of a question to the rest of the council in terms of, at one point, I think we had an energy committee, and I think we had talked about, at least informally, after the last time this topic came up, of potentially taking advantage of that expertise and having a committee to work on energy savings. I know that was, I think, in part how we came up with the energy savings on the streetlights, and that ended up to be a project that paid for itself and produced savings. So I think this can help the city as well as its residents, and it is voluntary in terms of whether you want to participate or not. So
I would ask that the council consider Mr. McNeil as a member to help us out. I've had numerous conversations, several conversations with him. His knowledge and his passion for this is impressive, and I hope we can use what he has to offer us.
Councilor Susie.
I know when it was first brought to us, and you can help me out, sir, as part of doing all this in that coalition, we had to have a representative of the city be on their board, if I remember what the presentation
That
was.
is correct. I think
Okay?
offer one participant from the city. I believe once the committee is formed, I think after that, and you vote on it, I think then the city decides who's going to be their representative to the
Right.
coalition for the whole state.
That's
And
correct.
why?
That's correct. And what I was gonna request, just to keep things in the process of flow, is I was gonna ask if the appointments committee could take up his appointment to that, bring it to the city council for approval.
Excellent idea.
I think that's what I would like
I
to.
think we just need to decide what that committee is gonna be. Is it gonna be, we're gonna follow the council procedures for an ad hoc committee related specifically to this? Are we gonna reference back to, the energy committee that Council Lippman referenced? I just think we just need to look at the logistics of that.
I think if we have a committee in our manual, if you will, that we take advantage of that. If not, then, it could could be created again, because one time we did.
Right, I'm just thinking it's probably quite some time ago. I'm just trying to expedite the process of getting Mr. McNeil through. And that's what I was gonna suggest we go through.
We do have a committee that would
Right.
give you a basis to do that.
Get that through and get things rolling, so I was gonna, if Mr. McNeil doesn't mind,
Don't ask him, just tell him.
okay? I will schedule an appointments committee meeting soon, and we'd like you to I'll make sure you get a piece of paperwork to fill out, and then come before us quickly, and we can move along with this.
Sure.
Under unfinished business, when we get to that point, there is the vote and kind of a decision on the direction you want to take. So I think we should look at it at that point. And, there's three different pieces to it, but I certainly think, and I can talk about this later, I can talk about it now when I reviewed this with our attorneys. Even though we have all three pieces that you could vote on tonight, starting at step one and forming the energy committee, or using one that's already existing, or forming a separate committee related to this, however that direction wants to go, is a better step one for solely tonight. We can look at how that lays out, and I can work with you guys on to get it to an appointments committee and to get it down the correct path.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to expedite it as much as possible.
Thank you, Kurt. I apologize. I didn't mention, and I should, that any action or any comments or action may be taken up under unfinished business for these public hearings later in the agenda. Item 15 on the agenda is the mayor's report. Mayor Pro Tem's report. I would like to Celebrate Laconia. The activities of the weekend were fantastic, and as usual, it gets bigger and bigger and better. So congratulations to Celebrate Laconia. Housekeeping. I'm sorry?
Close the
Oh, I'm sorry. I need to close the public hearing at 7:15. You all set? Katie, sorry about that. Just some housekeeping measures. The public forum is, to remind the councilors, public forum is tomorrow night, and Christmas Village is Thursday afternoon, I believe, at 4:30. Okay. Next item on the agenda is council comments. Councilman Bogart.
Yes, thank you. I'm not sure how to proceed with this. We have a bill that I'm helping to co-sponsor at the state level that I have. Give that pass out. And basically what this bill's gonna do is it's gonna appropriate from the Department of Administrative Services, Laconia Services reimbursement. The sum of $3 million is hereby appropriated for the biennial ending June 30th, 2025. The Department of Administrative Services for the reimbursement of the City of Laconia for expenditures related to public water, sewer, and road infrastructure improvements needed for the development of the former Laconia State School campus property. The use of the foregoing appropriation is conditioned upon the prior successful closing of the sale of the former Laconia State School campus property. The sum hereby appropriated shall be charged against the proceeds from any sale of the former Laconia State School campus property and expended by the Commissioner of the Administrative Services. Any unexpended amount shall lapse to the general fund. And basically what we're trying to do here is I'm looking for guidance and hopefully a positive letter from the City Council of the City of Laconia so that when this bill does go to committee, which that's going to be starting up in January, I like to be ahead of the game a little bit. And as this bill is reviewed through the different committees, if there's a letter of support by the Laconia, then it helps in a positive way on trying to get the bill passed. Now, mind you, this $3 million isn't a check written to the City of Laconia. It's reimbursement on work that is done attributed to the state school property. So may it be infrastructure or road that is needed to be improved for that property, then the bills can be submitted and it will be reimbursed up to $3 million.
I have a question. number one, the $3 million is nowhere near, I think, what the total is gonna be required. But my question to you is that for development within the property itself, or is it development outside the property to, in other words, for us to be able to service that property, we need to do other improvements? Is that, I wanna make sure that's clear.
It is for the property. So if you have stuff on, what is that up there? Is that 106 or is that?
Yeah, 106, you might say.
Meredith Center or whatever it is, 106 in that area. If you, there's pipes and stuff that are of different sizes that need to get addressed. I've heard that from the Public Works Department. And there's water pipes and stuff that need to get fixed and sewer lines that need to get adjusted. So those would be the type of improvements that would be addressed on.
Okay, I just want to make, that's where I was getting at. The other thing is, I also understand from last year's county budgets, there was X amount of dollars put aside for the intersection of, I believe, Old North Main and 106, for that big intersection right there. The county was gonna appropriate monies for that. Might want to check on that, just to make sure. It was leftover APRA money they had put aside for that, okay?
So
Just think about
even
that.
though I know it won't pay the total bill,
I-
but $3 million will go a long way in helping to make that, let's look at it this way, any dollar we can save on the development cost of that property, it can help to maybe provide affordable housing and stuff because the money wouldn't need to be recouped in the price of the houses. So there's a positive point there
And
for
I
the city.
I agree with you, Steve, but I also think the developer's gonna have to upfront some monies for us to do that. So,
That's
that's
fine.
my biggest thing, okay?
That's
Thank you.
fine.
I think it's good.
And so, at some point, now this is a Senate bill, so it hasn't been started yet. I want to remind everybody, but as it gets, January is when the committees and everything start up. So if that can be formulated to whatever type of document that is needed for approval from the city, then that would be great.
Okay. Counselor Lippman?
Just if I could ask
Sure,
Council.
no, go ahead.
In terms of, there's a bill number to be assigned, so it's
Yes,
not.
there is.
Okay.
It's 24-2836. It's up in the top right corner.
That's the,
That's the Senate bill. That's the tracking number for it at the moment.
so at this point, it's a draft bill.
Yes,
Hasn't been
it's-
assigned.
It's been.
Yep.
I just like to try and get ahead of the game because being on
Makes sense,
different
yeah.
committees,
That makes sense.
the biggest thing when these come up is the fact that they ask, does the city,
Do we have a Senate sponsor?
Tim Lang is the sponsor in the Senate. He's the actual prime sponsor of this bill. I'd like to thank him for doing this and
Appreciate the work to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Yes, we'll
could we-
track that as it goes along.
we maybe start a draft of a letter of support to work with the mayor on,
Yes, yeah. Kurt, would you?
Yep, we can do it.
All right, thank you.
And I,
in favor of it, so.
right.
Okay.
And also, as a side note, I have one other.
Sure, go ahead.
I've been approached by several people on Opal Lane. They're having problems with people coming across from the power line and from Hounsel Ave and that area and invading their homes, their property and their sheds and taking their propane tanks and whatnot. And they were questioning how do we go about that? And so I'm going to request that if the police department can add that to their busy list of, or growing list of maybe patrolling Hounsel Ave. I've been personally walking through the woods myself, and coming across people sleeping in cars and stuff up by the dog park and stuff. So, they're coming in from the dog park area. I found where the barrels have been moved and stuff. So, if we could have that patrolled, I'd deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pass it
Kurt,
on. We'll pass it along.
Counselor Cheney, would you just
I will.
pass that on,
I'm
please?
making a note.
All right, Counselor Felch.
Yeah, I just want to echo Mayor Pro Tem's words on the Celebrate Laconia with the parade and the lights, and Councilor Bogart and I were both there. We were able to get up on stage, and I thank the people and thank Celebrate Laconia from us for what they do, so.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor Felch. Anyone else? Counselor Cheney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I want to express my sincere concern that the council needs to move, in my mind, quickly to deal with the wages issue. I'm meeting with the department heads to go over specifics, but I can tell you I've checked with other cities and towns, primarily towns in the area, and we're falling behind rather quickly. Franklin pays its firefighters more than we do. I don't mean to denigrate Franklin, but it disturbs me that we're in that position when in my mind, we have one of the best fire departments I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them. So I would ask that I know the manager is, at the request of the mayor, dealing with municipal resources, am I correct? I'd ask that he be, that they be requested to move as quickly as possible and get us some information, because I'm bordering on, the next meeting, I will tell you about my meetings with the fire staff and the police staff, and try and give you some sense of the importance of this. But I want to keep bringing it up so it isn't forgotten. We can't afford to lose cops, firefighters, or public works employees. They're rare enough now, without us losing good employees to other towns for $5 an hour or something like that. I know there was some negative comments with regards to my request a couple of weeks ago that we look into whether we can provide trash cans, not trash service, but trash cans to residents of Southdown. I've been led to believe Southdown pays about 20% of the city's tax base, or tax bill, whatever, the cash coming in. We give all these, everybody else in town free cans. I don't think everybody in Southdown wants a can, but if there are folks that do, I wish we'd consider the possibility. I've asked the manager to look up the costs. He will do that for me, so I can report to you all. But I think even worst case scenario would not be an outrageous amount. I know there was a discussion about they live in a private community, and that's true, but they pay taxes, just like everybody else. And if we can provide everybody else with this, I don't know why we can't provide them. It would be like saying because they live in a private community, their kids can't go to our schools. I just think we need to offer them that as a sign of the fact that they're part of the city of Laconia. And finally, I'm sure the Public Works Director will be thrilled. I have some real concerns about Tower Hill and the condition of the grates. I don't know what the proper words are, Mr. Director, but on the right-hand side as you're going up the hill, you can lose the front end of a vehicle if you're going fast enough. I would ask you desperately to look at that and give the council some, I would ask you to ask the director to look at that and give us some idea of what we can do and when we can do it. It is, and I think Tony agrees with me, it is a almost critical issue.
Yep, I've approached it before, and it definitely needs to be taken care of.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Anyone else? Counselor Felch?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out if there's any progress with Prescott Ave and Pogus, and whether that needs to be over before a committee meeting, or what we need to do on that.
Since the last time that we met and you sort of said we're not doing anything with it right now, we put it on, I don't want to say put it on hold, that's not the right term, but you left it at that. We haven't pushed too much more forward with that right now. It's not that we put it on the back burner, but because there was nothing pressing happening right now, we just haven't moved too much further with that. I think what we're gonna end up seeing is whatever committee that gets sent to, it's gonna be all, we're gonna really have to bundle that as all private streets and look at everything as a whole package. Because I think what I'm getting as a consensus is picking and choosing out is, I think you'd like to see it all put together as one.
No,
So we haven't, for no reason other than there was nothing immediately pressing, but we certainly
I
can.
agree with that, but with tax season coming up as well, I'd like to see probably the first of the year.
Yep, that was actually our intent, was right at the first of the year.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Kurt, I just have a couple of questions. Do you have a time frame with MRI for that wage report? I know you said sometime in November, but we're closing in on December.
No, so we did a very small study, with the intent of, if the study that they did for us is in a way that we like the process and like how it was gonna go, we could open that up. I just received it a couple hours ago.
Okay,
So it came in today.
all right.
So we do have we have something to build on and go from there.
The other thing is, I know that you and I had a conversation this morning, but there's nothing new about Prescott,
No, we
Old
haven't,
Prescott Road and Prescott Road.
yeah,
as
we
far
haven't
as-
seen anything new. We've been
Right.
going back through about 15, 16 years worth of documents, and every time we find where it's going down to get its final approvals or denials, that trail is ending. So we've been working on probably a couple thousand pages worth of documents and going through minutes. We'll get up to a certain point and it ends. So I don't have a complete answer on that. We did get a question today about signage and how good the sign is or bad if it's not working properly. And Director of Public Works went out and took a look at it. And we have some ideas to make it a little bit more user-friendly, and, some of it's the newness of the traffic pattern, but we are addressing it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. Any committees have any reports? Councilor,
Yes, the Finance Committee met this evening, and we have a recommendation for the council relative to bond financing. Councilor Susi, if you have yours handy, do you want to read what we voted on?
Just pull it back out so I can read it verbatim. So the Finance Committee voted on the following motion here. It was early, now I got it now. As far as, there was a resolution put together, resolution number would be 2023-34. And under that resolution, we're asking the city council that the motion we make, the capital improvement projects as recommended for transportation infrastructure improvements for the total, be part of the total cost of just over, it's $2,083,738. And I'll explain to you the total bond we're requesting is that we're also requesting that the city council allow the city manager to go ahead with his finance director and a total bond of $7 million through New Hampshire Bond Bank. This will cover the sewer improvements that Council Lippman worked hard on to be spread over a number of years. The two new ambulances that we have to purchase, and also a new fire truck. And beyond that, we've also allowed, as we said, $2,083,738 for transportation and infrastructure improvements. We will break that down as far as exactly where later on as the CIP committee reports come in.
At the public hearing.
Right, at the public.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other committee reports?
So if I could.
Oh, go ahead,
finish a
I'm
little
sorry.
bit. So we're talking about a 20-year bond to finance that $7 million. And so we've had the public hearing on both previously on the fire engine. Tonight we had it on the ambulance. We have proposing to have a public hearing on December 11th on the whole package. And this resolution is what we'd be proposing to do. And so I guess in terms of later in the meeting, we'll have a actual agenda item, I believe.
Yes, we do.
21B.
Correct.
To take that up.
One more thing.
Council Suzie, yes.
One more thing, so everybody knows, we did go out, working with the city finance director. We went out to a number of different institutions to get bids on the bond bank, New Hampshire Bond Bank. It came in at the lowest by quite a bit, so that's why we decided to work with them. We've already talked to them about how we're gonna use the monies, and they've approved all that, so that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you. Council Lipp?
So the municipal bond bank was the structure that we used when we did the middle school, which was our other relatively large financing in recent past. And the spread between commercial rates and tax exempt rates are larger than they have been for a while. So that's why we're looking at that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your work. Anyone else? Okay, liaison reports.
I have one item from the water department.
Sure.
Okay. As we know from the last meeting we had at the city council, we took that small piece of property that had the water department pipe running underneath it, declared surplus on Woodland Avenue. We're going through the process now, having that surveyed. When we put into our notes last week, when we said, okay, there was a $7,000 cost, we tied that to the motion, which is okay. The thing I wanted to just bring up is that actually just outside that piece of property, maybe 100 feet down the road, we have to replace the water lines there next year, the year after. They're almost close to 100 years old. It's one of the oldest set we have in the city. And the water department is requesting that whatever we get for funds from the sale of that.
Any other liaison reports? Okay, we'll move on to new business. Okay. Okay,
I think
sir?
Thank you, sir.
Kevin, your posters are over there if you're interested.
I'm Kevin Hayhurst, 20 Shane Way, Laconia. So I met with Kirk about the parking garage and to bring something new downtown. Instead of you guys tearing it down, I know you guys got a crazy price on ripping it down 10+ years ago. I'm sure it's tripled by then. But so I brought 8 pickleball courts, the rest turf. I could bring club lacrosse, club soccer, club flag football, do all that stuff and bring it downtown. We can get all the people coming downtown, help the businesses, still, I wouldn't look to get rid of any parking spots we use now, keep that second floor open. I'd probably like to put a new elevator on the outside, something lit up, something where to fix the ramps that are coming out. A welder that actually builds parking garages. He said he had no problem fixing that stuff up. So I've gone through quite a bit of the building already with my contractors.
Council Suzie?
Thank you very much. I think it's awesome, but what's your timeline?
Oh, I don't know what these steps are, what we'd have to do. I think the dome sets up pretty quick. I think we can get it done fairly quick. I think it's a 6-month project.
Very good. It's the top floor, and the second floor you leave as is, maybe some
Okay. Item 20 is the city manager's report. Kurt?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two documents with you this time of the month again. The first one's your projects update. There was a sinkhole from a drainage pipe that failed up on Hilliard Road that has been replaced and been being fixed. Academy Street Bridge, New Hampshire DOT is still going through their work. They're gonna have some temporary right-of-way encroachment that they're gonna work on just during the project, so they're handling all that at this time. Certainly, I can put together at another point for a future meeting an update on the dock reconfiguration. There's just a financial piece that we're kind of up against right now to try to make that happen, even though we do have some grant money towards it. To finish it is quite extensive amount of money, so, but I can put something together for you on that at a future meeting. The Weirs Beach restoration, we continue to discuss that. And as was suggested, we are working not only directly with Parks and Rec, but DES. And as soon as we have a call out to get meetings set up, once that meeting gets set up, we'll reach back out to former city manager Myers, who had a lot of background, as was recommended that we do. So that's continuing to move forward, just timing of the year right now with the holidays, I think, is holding that up. The Winnipesaukee River Basin project, the one piece, just a note on that, our Public Works Director Anderson is the chairman of that 10-member consortium that deals with this. One of the things that they've been continuously pushing forward with them, and they're continuing to as a big part of their work, is to push being proactive on their budgeting. So it's not every year throwing new things at communities that they're not necessarily prepared for financially. So they've been working on that a lot, and it seems to be a big piece of what they're trying to accomplish. The Northern Lakeport Sewer Project is completed. They'll be back in the spring with some touch-up work. This is sort of those streets that came off, in the Elm Street area, some of the side streets off of Elm Street. Council Felch and I toured that one morning to take a look at some of the work that they were doing on some of the side streets. So they'll be back in the spring to touch up, but their major work is completed. We've discussed the beach, and that's all I have on the project update. The monthly economic development report is the next packet. As you can see, we've got, this actually goes back to September with the unemployment rate. It's a little higher than the state, but really close to that. And on the second page, the number that everybody looks at, especially this time of year, as we get close, the CPI number is out again, down a little bit this month, and annualizing out at 4.31%. Sort of looking at the last couple of years, that doesn't necessarily make a good trend the last couple of years, but just looking at some approximates, I'm gonna, I hate to say estimate, but I'm gonna estimate a little over 4% probably is what we're gonna see for a CPI number as we come into the end of the year, with those 2 more months worth, and we'll have that number. That's all I have for
Okay,
you, unless you
thank
have
you.
questions.
Councilor Susie?
Well, the city manager is up. I have a question for him on a
Sure.
different subject, okay?
Yeah.
Tax rate,
Yes,
has it been set?
yes,
Sorry?
No, that was so.
13.91.
And a vision appraisal is online for people who want to look up their own.
And everything's online if they want to look it up. This would be, actually, it's a good point. This is one of the things that we said in the paper. Don't use last year's tax rate on your new evaluation and try to figure out your number. Your new evaluations are up, the new tax rate is available. So if you wanted to get a head start, I know the bills will be
Mailed out tomorrow.
mailed out tomorrow, but if you want to take a look, so. And that, this year's tax rate was down 94 cents.
If you've never done it before, using vision appraisal is very easy. You just go to Laconia
vision appraisal and put in your address.
Pops up, every
Pops
your
up.
information.
It's basically your tax card.
Who wants to look at?
Anyone else has questions for the city manager? Okay. New business. Item 21A, declaring a city-owned property at tax map 442/15/7-1, described as the second and third floors of the downtown parking garage as surplus property. A written offer has been submitted to purchase the second and third stories of the downtown parking garage currently owned by the city, tax map 42/15/7-1. The prospective buyer has proposed a negotiated amount as the purchase price of the property to arrive at a fair and mutual beneficial agreement for both parties. In accordance with the City Code, Section 183-7 and 183-8 attached to your packet, the resolution has presented requests for the city to determine the city-owned property described as the second and third stories of the downtown parking garage, 42/15/7-1, to be declared as surplus as the first step in the process. Please note that 2/3 of the council is required for any vote relative to this matter. Kurt, do you have anything else you want to add?
The only thing I'll add to that is, the price related is listed as negotiable. That was written as, in the written offer to us from Mr. Hayhurst, was negotiable. There's still a lot, even if this was done and moved through this, there's a lot of legal work that still has to be done, and this isn't a simple standalone building, even though we did a lot of pre-work on this. Once we get down to the final, yes, it's surplus, and yes, we're gonna move forward with negotiating a sale. There's, we still have a lot of work to do. So that was the only piece that wasn't mentioned earlier, was that there's no dollar figure listed, it's negotiable.
Okay. Councilor Lippman.
Just as part of that legal work, and the resolution speaks to floors 2 and 3, is there a part of the legal work that has to be done also include something related to level 1?
Yeah, and when we put out the expression of interest, when we've looked at all that, there's easement for where the ramp comes down onto the first floor, so that would all fall under that legal work that would have to be taken care of.
So in terms of the resolution speaking only to 2 and 3, is that, it should be just limited to 2 and 3 is my question, I guess, ultimately.
No, I think you gotta
It
put
should
it up.
be. What'd you say about?
Don't we have to open it up to include those ramps, because the
You-
ground where the ramps come down, if I remember right from Dave's, that's part of the property.
We have an easement to where those come down, so the garage can be used. So I would say that floors 2 and 3 would be what's being sold, and then any, I don't want to come up with a legal speak on the fly, but any connection with the first floor would have to be, legally handled.
Yeah, I guess, I'm in favor of this resolution, I guess. After the legal work's done, we may need to, I guess, wondering whether just to amend it now that takes floors 2 and 3 and any other element of the garage that legal suggests has to be incorporated to transfer the property.
I think that makes perfect sense.
If I may, and I'm gonna kind of my former helper here, I had a couple of instances when I was working down. I had a couple of instances when I was working that beat, you might say, and that bottom floor where the ramp comes down, some of that property was considered to be city property, because of enforcement and public drinking and stuff like that. So that's why I just want to make sure that all of that gets included.
Yep. And we have all the deed paperwork I think if we word it the way Council Lippman said, it takes care of that, and, we certainly wouldn't overextend ourselves to where we shouldn't.
I just don't want to see the new owner get,
No, we wouldn't do that.
Sidetracked
We wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone? Counselor
Is
Bogart?
the elevator part of that property, or is that
Not part, not part of this resolution because there isn't one now.
There is an elevator inside the garage, okay?
Right.
So
So
no,
that would be considered part of it also, so that,
I would-
I just want to make sure we don't buy an elevator.
So,
No,
right,
That's not what, that's
Right
not what's on in
now,
front of us.
yeah, so right now, alls we're voting on is to,
declared surplus.
We're just talking about the resolution. I don't think we need you to come.
right. Yeah, I think right now, alls we're doing is voting to.
Right. That it becomes
it
surplus
becomes
property.
surplus
Right,
property.
Yeah,
The
and
le-
so-
the
and all
legal
I'm just-
matters and all the,
Yeah, want to make sure that the
rest of it.
first floor is properly incorporated into the resolution
Right.
here, that's all.
That's where I was.
Yeah, I think the way it was worded, you know, the amendment
Yeah.
is,
Right.
And I think you'll get back to us with,
yeah, we worked on all that, when we were putting this out with an expression of interest anyhow, and we have it with the deed paperwork and everything right here, so, yeah, that won't,
okay,
straightforward.
okay, all right. There's three motions here. First motion is I move to waive the reading of the resolution 2023-35 in its entirety and read by title only.
what, you don't want
Counselor.
him to read the whole thing?
No, I'm moving,
Counselor Cheney,
I'm.
seconded
we
by
wait.
Counselor Bogart. Okay. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Katie, that's 5 votes in the affirmative. Second motion,
Six.
next motion is 6. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
the vote is,
You get, yeah,
But there's no council.
I'm not here.
you're
I'm here.
here.
I vote, yes.
Yes.
Still
So it's 5.
The council rules is when you sit in the, as the,
Pro tem.
pro
Renee Pro
tem,
Tem.
that you don't lose your vote.
Oh, okay.
6 votes.
You're all set?
I
Six.
misunderstood you, Henry, I apologize.
That's okay.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that. Next motion, I move to the first reading of Resolution 2335 relative to declaring city-owned property at tax map 42/15/7-1, described on the second and third floor of the downtown parking garage as surplus property. So moved by Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Lippman.
Yeah, so I'm proposing that it be described as the second and third floor and any component of the first floor determined by, to be able to convey the property.
Okay, is that an amendment to the resolution?
That would be that'd be a friendly amendment.
Okay.
Yep.
I
Now
agree
we're
with that.
voting on the friendly amendment.
Yep.
All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Now we're back to
Voting on the resolution.
the resolution. Counselor Susie and
And
second by Counselor Lippman. Okay. Any discussion?
So who seconded the amendment? You made it.
Lippman?
Who seconded it? You did?
Okay. Counselor Susie? you-
No,
No,
I'm all
okay.
set. I just want to make sure she had it right. that's
Oh,
all.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
6 votes in the affirmative. Last but not least, I move to schedule a public hearing on December 11th, 2023, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input regarding Resolution 2335 relative to declaring city-owned property at tax map 42/15/7.1, described as the second, third floors of the downtown parking garage as surplus property prior to any action being taken. I motion Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Bogart.
yes,
Any discussion?
Yes, suggest that we add the same language regarding the first floor if the clerk has that. Or you need me to restate it?
In any component of the first floor to access the downtown parking garage.
To convey,
Oh,
To-
convey.
convey.
do we need to vote on that as an amendment as well?
Yeah, I think so legally.
Okay.
Okay. The friendly amendment added to the third part of the motion.
I'll propose it.
By him, I'll second.
Okay, Councilor Felch seconded by Counselor Lippman. Any discussion? Did I get that right?
It's good enough.
Okay, sorry. All right, no discussion. All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. All right,
We have to vote on the resolution. Which I
Okay.
made the motion and Counselor Bogart seconded.
okay. All right, I'm sorry. Okay, back to that. We need to vote on that last public hearing, on that section of that. There was no discussion. All those in favor? Okay. Item 21B is Resolution 23-34 relative to the approval of bonding for the purpose of funding capital improvement projects as recommended by the Finance Committee. During its meeting on November 13th, 2023, the City Council Finance Committee discussed the bonding to fund necessary capital improvement projects. The committee agreed to recommend the council authorize the issuance of bonds in the amount of $2,083,738 for that purpose. At its meeting on November 13th, 23, the council affirmed the recommendation and directed staff to proceed with adding the amount to bond authorizations previously approved for the sanitary sewer upgrades, purchase of a fire engine, the purchase of 2 ambulances, bringing the total amount to be bonded FYI 24 of $7 million. The financial impact of proposed expenditure is not included in the fiscal year 24 budget approved on June 27th, 2023. Adoption for the accompanying resolution will increase authorized spending in the amount of $2,083,738 for the funding to provide through bonding. The exact interest cost is dependent on the interest rates at the date of issuance. Current estimates are the interest rates at the time of the bond is issued will be approximately 4.7. Using that rate, the interest cost associated with the portion of the overall bond is estimated to be $1,028,405 over the 20-year term of the bond was $97,935 due in the fiscal year 25. The approval or recommendation of the total bond of fiscal year 24 will be $7 million. 43% of the total will incur either directly or indirectly to the general fund. The fiscal year 2025 general fund expense associated with the entire bond is estimated to be $292,818. The city manager recommends approving the resolution authorizing the bonding for the purpose of capital projects as proposed and recommended by the Finance Committee. This was submitted by Glenn Smith. There are 3 parts to this motion.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, when we reported earlier, we talked about that the capital projects that were not specifically cited here would be capital projects for the purpose of transportation infrastructure improvements.
You're right.
So I'm just suggesting, rather than having to go through we start out with the amendment when we're reading the second and third proposed motions to incorporate that
Okay.
language in there.
Yeah, when we get there, you're right. Okay, the first motion is I move to waive the reading of Resolution 2023-34 and to be read by title only. Counselor Cheney? Counselor Susie? Okay. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative, Katie. Second part of the motion is I move the first reading of Resolution 23-34 relative to bonding, the approval of bonding for the proposed funding of capital projects as recommended by the Finance Committee. At this point, you'd like to add?
Yeah, just clarifying that the capital improvement projects are inclusive of the ambulances, the fire truck, the sewer, as well as transportation infrastructure improvements.
Can we do that without a public hearing on the
Oh.
rest of it?
We did have the public
I know we
hearing
did
on
on part of it, but
Right.
it. We've had,
more coming up that needs to be before a public hearing first.
no, I think we've
This,
covered,
the only thing that needs a public hearing will be the stuff that we're adding is the transportation infrastructure
which will be on the
improvements will be
11th.
on the 11th. That's what you're approving.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, everything else has gone through its public hearings.
Okay, good.
Katie, did you
Wanna
get
make
that?
sure.
Yes.
Was there a?
Second that motion.
Okay. All right. Any discussion, any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor, we're voting on the amendment?
Yep.
Okay. 6 votes in the affirmative. Okay, now we're back to the original. I need a motion for the original resolution for the second part. Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Bogart. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Okay, that passes. And the third, I move to schedule a public hearing on December 11th, 2023, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input prior to any action being taken. Councilor Lippman, you're right?
I think that one's fine as is.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion? Counselor Felch, Counselor Bogart? That's for the amendment. We're voting on the amendment before
No,
that?
This
No,
one
we
is
did
good
that.
as,
We did that.
We don't need an amendment on that.
this one
Okay.
is, this last
Okay.
one.
Don't need it on that
All
one.
right. Okay, so we're back to that. Okay. The third, is there any discussion? All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Okay. Moving to item 21C, the authorization of boat dealers to act as agents for the city of Laconia. The boat dealers listed below have been operating as agents of for the city in collection of boat fees. For the last several years, the state has required these dealers to show evidence of a surety bond in order to authorize them to collect fees for the city and the state. The city can cover these dealers under current bonding insurance at no additional cost, provided they are authorized annually by the city council to act as agents. In the fiscal year 2023, the city received approximately $112,000 in boat registration fees collected between these dealers and the city clerk's office. I am asking the city council to authorize the following boat dealers to act as agents of the city: Flightcraft General, Northwater Marine, Watermark Marine, Pogus Bay Marine, Lakeport Landing, Irwin Marine, and Winnisquam Marine. This is submitted by Katie Gargano, the city clerk. There's 2 parts to this motion. I move to approve the renewal of the boat agent agreement between the state of New Hampshire DMVW and the city of Laconia and its boat dealers. Council Lippman, Council Bogart? Okay. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. The next motion, I move to authorize the city clerk to sign the boat agent agreement in behalf of the city of Laconia. Councilor Susie? Councilor Felch, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. 21D, per chapter 189-50C, collection of flat rate sewer accounts are collected by the tax collector. The collection of $151,996.90. Approved and signed the 2023 second half sewer warrants. This was submitted by Katie Gargano. I move to approve 2023 second half sewer warrant. Do I have a motion? Counselor Phelps, seconded by Counselor Bogart. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Appointment 21E is appointment for moderator of ward clerk and supervisor of the checklist vacancies. Per the Laconia City Charter, Section 22-01, Board of Supervisors of checklists, all vacancies occurring in the board shall be filled by the city council. And Section 2-05, all vacancies in the office of moderator, ward clerk, selectman shall be filled by the city council. The regular appointments will be valid until the end of December 2025 at the next city election, which is in November of 2025. The appointments are as follows. Carol Nyquist as moderator for Ward 4. Appointment of Badette McGigan as ward clerk for Ward 1. Appointment of Melanie Clark as ward clerk for Ward 4, and appointment of Rebecca Morris as supervisor of the checklist, Ward 4. Do I have a motion? I move to approve the appointment of candidates as stated above as election officials as presented and recommended by the city clerk. Do I have a motion? Councilor Susie? Councilor Bogart? Seconded. Is there any discussion?
Appreciate that they came forward.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
Yes, I do too. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, can I just make one comment?
Sure.
Yes, thank you that they came forward. I know Katie's been doing a lot of work with it. Ward 2, still looking for a supervisor of the checklist, and Ward 5, still looking for a ward clerk. Thought I'd throw those out
I
there.
still think we're looking for selectmen in Ward 4. Am I right?
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So if anybody's interested, I think now you have to see the city clerk. Okay, Section 22A. The New Hampshire Endowment of Health, as part of its project Trust Making, the Community Engagement Initiative Phase 2 is making a $20,000 grant available to the City of Laconia, the Human Relations Committee. The grant would assist the Human Relations Committee to create community gatherings and conversations around differences such as racial, economic, ethnic, ability and disability, social, economic, and political differences. The goal of this gathering and conversations would build and enhance the greater trust of the citizens of Laconia and the state of New Hampshire. The application for the grant must be filed before the end of 2023, with the funds being made available at 2024. At the November 13th, the City Council meeting, a motion was approved to schedule a public hearing on this matter, and the public hearing was held earlier this evening. There are no matching funds required. This has 3 motions. First, I move to waive the hearing of Resolution 20-23 in 32 in its entirety and read by title only. Do I have a motion? Councilor Phelps, seconded by Councilor Bogart. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Second reading, second motion is I move to a second reading of Resolution 23/32 relative to the application acceptance of the Human State of New Hampshire Endowment of Health Grant in the amount of $20,000 for the Laconia Human Relations Committee. Do I have a motion? Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Littman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. And last, I move to approve Resolution 2023-32 relative to the application and acceptance of the New Hampshire Endowment for Health Grant in the amount of $20,000 for the Laconia Human Relations Committee, and authorize the city manager to sign all documents related to the grant. Do I have a motion? Councilor Phelps, Councilor Susie seconds it. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Item 22B. Relative to the approval of bonding for the purpose of purchasing 2 replacement ambulances. During the fiscal year '24 budget development process, the council discussed the need to replace 2 ambulances which are nearing the end of its useful life. The fire chief was instructed to solicit bids for the replacement ambulances that would meet the EMS needs of the city and its residents. Chief Joubert has completed his review and a competitive bid process and has recommended to the city acquire 2 Horton Class I Type 1 ambulances configured to meet city specifications from the firm of Greenwood Emergency Vehicles. At the November 13th meeting, city council meeting, a motion was approved to schedule a public hearing on this matter, that the public hearing was held earlier this evening. I think we've discussed this before. Kurt, do you have anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think between the public hearings and what you guys have already discussed, you know, we know the condition that the ambulances are in, just in their, you know, their, as you said, nearing their end of their useful life. We've worked with the finance committee already, and we'll do have a little bit more work on the financing piece of it, but I think that this is ready to move forward.
Okay.
If I could make one other comment.
Sure. Council
Just
Lippman.
so the public understands that there's a very long lead time on these vehicles, and which is why we're moving. It could take 2 or 3 years to actually get them in service. So,
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. There are 3 parts to this. I move to waive the reading of Resolution 2023-30 in its entirety and to read by title only. Councilor Cheney, Councilor Phelps seconds it. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Second part, I move the second reading of Resolution 2023/30 relative to the approval of bonding for the purchasing 2 replacement ambulances. A motion. Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Cheney. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Third part. I move to approve Resolution 23-30 relative to the approval of bonding for the purpose of purchasing 2 replacement ambulances and to authorize the city manager to execute any required documents relative to this bond. Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Cheney. Any discussion? Councilor Bogart.
Just one question. It just came to me. Knowing that these are gonna take 2 or 3 years to go out, and if we pay them up front, is there something they do to ensure they don't go out of business and run away with the money?
You want to?
I think that the terms of the purchase don't necessarily require us to pay for them entirely up front.
Okay. One of the things that a lot of places are doing is they pre-buy the chassis, and when we pre-buy the chassis, sometimes it actually speeds the process along a little bit, but, so that's all the stuff we'll work through.
It's actually the chassis it's taken so long to get, because from what I hear from all fixed across the state,
Yeah.
when they're purchasing these types of equipment, they're having problems with chassis and getting them.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Okay, 22C. September 11th, 2023, a representative from the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire provided an initial presentation to the city council inviting the city to become a member of the nonprofit coalition. At the October 23rd, 2023 meeting, a motion was approved to schedule a public hearing on this matter. The public hearing was held earlier this evening. The motion on the floor is I move to approve the signing of the joint power agreement with the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire to appoint 2 members to the coalition and to form a community power committee. Okay,
I'll make that
Counselor
motion.
Susie, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Is there any discussion?
Yes, just in terms
Counselor
of
Lippman.
whether it needs to be a community power committee, or whether it can be the energy committee that we have just amend the motion to form a
Form an energy committee.
energy committee.
And I'll go back and look at if still anything exists from what we've had before, and
Right.
I can do that.
Yep, so either in the form of an energy committee or as stated here in the
Second that amendment.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment? 6 votes. Katie, did you get that, the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now we're back to the original motion. Is there any other discussion? Okay.
As
See-
amended.
As amended, I'm sorry. Thank you, Counselor. All those in favor? 6 votes in the affirmative. Okay. That concludes the agenda for tonight, unless anyone has anything else they'd like to bring up at this point in time. Seeing none, the council meeting is adjourned at 8:22. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.